This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's April 11th, 2025. On this day in 1867, Nashville established its Board of Health, a precursor to the current public health department. The gears started moving in that direction the year prior, when Asiatic cholera arrived in the United States. Nashville's doctors became quite alarmed at the idea of it spreading here. That June, they started holding sporadic meetings to brainstorm and organize sanitary measures in preparation for the epidemic's arrival in the city. The first case was diagnosed August 11th, 1866, and over the next 20 days, 7 people died. By the 2-month mark, it was reported to have passed, but in that time, more than 800 people died. Memphis was the only other city in the nation with a higher rate of deaths per capita. 800 deaths in 2 months would be a lot now, but the city was so much smaller then. The 1870 census recorded just about 25,000 people in Nashville. So that was a watershed event for the city. Local leaders were eager to head off such a high death toll in future epidemics, and to that end, they organized a board of health and employed a public health officer. Unfortunately, Nashville's government was on shaky financial footing. 2 years later, the city went into receivership. The entire city government was replaced. The public health effort was essentially suspended. And a few years after that, cholera came back. The sense of urgency was renewed enough that the Board of Health was reestablished in 1874 with marching orders to do as much as possible while spending as little money as possible. It focused on educating people about the link between cleanliness and health. And it collected data that they hoped would help hone subsequent decisions about the way they handled sanitary matters like disposing of human waste and supplying clean water to households. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with some historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Funding is a real pinch point right now for Metro Public Health. The department, like so many health departments around the state and the nation as a whole, depends on federal grants. Metros get $72 million federal dollars each year. Or to look at it from the other direction, national efforts to bolster and improve public health are carried out by giving local health officials the money to be the boots on the ground. I suspect you know where this is going. DOJ cuts in Washington, D.C. trickle down to the local agencies that rely on federal money. And this month, WPLN's Metro reporter Cynthia Abrams told us the Public Health Department lost grants that funded at least 7 positions. That's money for responding to the new outbreak of measles, building temporary housing pods for unhoused folks, for vaccine clinics, health literacy efforts, and work done locally to follow how disease spreads around our community. And that's what the first wave of cuts affected. Soon after, word came down of more losses, this time impacting care for infants, new mothers, and people living with HIV. Now, these kinds of spending cuts are being challenged in court. Until the legal process is exhausted, they aren't a for sure permanent thing. But that doesn't make a ton of difference on the ground at Metro Health. At the very least, the local health agency is in a weird sort of limbo. And this, as measles cases are being diagnosed in Middle Tennessee for the first time in a very long while. Another category of cuts is hitting one of Metro Health's closest partners pretty hard on a different front. Meharry Medical College works with the city to run Nashville General Hospital. During the pandemic, Meharry manned the drive-through testing and vaccine centers, and it also makes use of federal research grants. Meharry could lose $30 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health, an amount the school's president has described as crushing. Of course, that's just health. Public health, to be specific. Metro Water, the city's Department of Transportation, Metro Schools, the Metro Action Commission, each of those arms of the local government gets tens of millions of dollars worth of federal grant money every year. And these days, that means an awful lot of programs could be up in the air. In just a few minutes, music reporter Justin Barney takes us inside Bon Iver's new sound. Coming up after the newscast.
We know that local government isn't the only part of your life.
Like the mayor, I know that city government isn't the only thing you're concerned with.
We are still struggling to find affordable housing.
They're taking over this bus stop.
That's one of the unique challenges with my business.
I'm WPLN's Metro reporter Cynthia Abrams. I'm working to break down topics like transit, housing, and local government to make sure that when you are thinking about Metro, you're getting the full story. Follow my latest stories at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. A measure to challenge the right to an education for undocumented students narrowly passed the Tennessee Senate yesterday. WPLN's Miriam reports both Republicans and Democrats who oppose the bill quoted from Scripture.
Republican Todd Gardenhire of Chattanooga referenced the biblical prophet Ezekiel.
The child will not share the guilt of the parent, nor the parent share the guilt of the child. I believe that we are punishing children for the wrongdoing of their parents.
Through tears, Nashville Democratic Senator Charlene Oliver quoted from the book of Matthew when Jesus says,
"That whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." If we truly believe that, then we must have that same compassion for undocumented children.
Senator Bo Watson, who sponsored the legislation, says it's a financial issue.
That there is a significant cost to the taxpayers in Tennessee to educate undocumented illegal aliens in the public education system.
The bill ultimately passed with cries of outrage from protesters.
Education is a right.
Okay. All right. You're warned. Any more outbursts and you'll be removed and arrested.
The bill still needs House approval. A committee meeting on the legislation is set for Monday. Mariana Baca-Yao, WPLN News.
A bill moving through the Tennessee state capitol would create a new felony offense for people who make threats at school. It's been framed as an alteration to the existing school threats law. But as WPLN's Paige Flager explains, lawmakers are actually doubling down.
WPLN and ProPublica have reported on how the current law has resulted in kids being arrested at school for jokes, rumors, and misunderstandings. The threat doesn't need to be credible for a kid to be handcuffed. Advocates and families have called on state lawmakers to change the law, but they're not touching it this session. Instead, this new bill would add an additional felony to the books, which requires intent and has a harsher punishment. If it passes, advocates worry children could be charged under both statutes to see which felony would stick. Paige Flager, WPLN News.
The bill is scheduled to be heard in the Senate Finance, Ways and Means Committee next week. The press secretary for the House Republican caucus confirmed that the bill is a separate piece of legislation from the current threats of mass violence law and that, quote, a DA will have discretion to choose which statute to press charges under. Lawyers representing death row inmates are asking Governor Bill Lee for another pause on executions. WPLN's health reporter Catherine Sweeney tells us they want the courts to examine the new lethal injection protocol.
After a damning investigation led Governor Lee to pause executions for more than 2 years, the Department of Correction released its new protocol in January. Oscar Smith could be the first person put to death under the new policy. His execution is scheduled for May. 9 death row inmates, including Smith, are challenging the new protocol. Attorneys say it doesn't do enough to make sure lethal injection drugs are safe, and the process is still cruel and unusual. In a letter to Lee, they argued the lawsuit will allow both sides to make their case to the public, and then would allow a neutral third party to decide on it. But judicial reviews take time. Here's one of the lawyers, Amy Harwell.
Court said the soonest this case can get to trial, even with us pushing for expedited schedule, is January 2026. And without a reprieve, Oscar will be dead before then.
The attorneys note Lee has already put a moratorium on executions due to concerns about unsafe drugs, and argue there is no reason to believe the drugs are any safer now. Catherine Sweeney, WPLN News.
Nashville's 4-day rainfall event last week wasn't close to the record. But last Thursday, the city did end up with its second wettest day ever for April. Other parts of the region did set records. WPLN's Caroline Eggers shares some of the stats.
In Middle Tennessee, some of the wildest data is how many warnings there have been. The National Weather Service in Nashville has already issued more than 130 warnings so far in April for severe thunderstorms, flash floods, and tornadoes. In recent years, we've gotten between 5 and 45 for the entire month. As to the rain, Clarksville beat its 4-day record with about 10 inches of rain. The city also had reports of sinkholes, homes underwater, and burst sewage pipes. But Kentucky got hit the hardest. One county got nearly 16 inches during the storm. Bowling Green, which is just an hour north of Nashville, broke its 4-day record, and the city has already gotten over a dozen reports of sinkholes.
The National Weather Service says folks will get a break from rain and severe weather this weekend. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. The forlorn falsetto of Justin Vernon's voice has propelled Bon Iver into indie stardom. But fame only seemed to make Vernon retreat into his sadness more. Now, with the new album called Sable Fable out today, Vernon appears to be in bloom. He granted a rare interview to music reporter Justin Barney, where they talked all about how Vernon changed his tune.
I think sadness is one of the easier emotions to access.
That is Justin Vernon, also known as Bon Iver, whose uncharacteristically happy album, Sable Fable, is out today.
I think I just feel a lot of feelings.
As a young man with a lot of emotion growing up in northern Wisconsin, Vernon sought connection. He went to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, where he majored in religious studies.
When I studied religion and stuff, I just was always curious of what made people connect. What made them feel connected to the spiritual, to the sacred things in being a human being. And so I think anguish and sadness was one of those things that connected people.
In the winter months of 2006, he went to a remote cabin in the woods. Isolated, he chopped wood, hunted deer, and wrote a masterpiece of an album, For Emma Forever Ago. Come on, skinny love, just let's sing it. People really connected to his sadness. The cabin had this lore and created this mythology.
My dream growing up was just I'll just tour the Midwest and sell CDs out of the trunk of my Chevy Blazer or whatever, and I'll be happy. I'll have a wife and kids, and it just exploded to such a weird degree that still is very surprising to me sometimes. I don't think I'm not talented or worthy or something, but I generally sort of just was laughing about it. And the second record was sort of me being whatever, I'm free playing with house money.
And that money hit. The second album, self-titled, won 2 Grammys and solidified Vernon as indie rock's favorite sad boy.
After a while, this sort of thing that happens is you're expected of it. It becomes part of your identity. Then it becomes your entire identity. Then it's really hard to shed it.
That's where this new album, Sable Fable, begins. Last year, Bon Iver released the first part of this album as an EP called Sable, which ends with this song, Awards Ceremony. Vernon is often cryptic in his lyrics, which is why it's so great to have talked to him. In the first line, there is this figure, the Spaniard.
And the Spaniard, and song that I have pandered to, is always handing me the anvil, saying that's for you.
The Spaniard, to me, it's the sad guy from Boots of Spanish Leather by Bob Dylan, the saddest song of all time.
And yes, there's something you can send back to me. Spanish boots of Spanish leather.
And he's just sitting across from me and saying here, keep being sad, homie, it will turn out good. Maybe I got stuck on that sadness thing a little much.
But once the record changes from the EP Sable to the LP Fable, the whole vibe changes. It is joyous.
For once, we're having fun over here.
Justin Vernon fell in love.
A person came into my life and that changed everything. You see yourself in new light They see you in a way that your old friends or family don't see you, and it gives you a new chance. There's a new chance there in that renewal. You know, you can live again. You can be remade.
Is this closure? If he is not sad, what is Bon Iver? Every time that he referred to the project in our interview, he talked about it in the past tense. And the last song on the album is called Au revoir. And so I had to ask him, is that for real? Is this the end of Bon Iver?
It's the end of something. And I'm really not taking you for a ride. I really don't know what's next. It's the first time that I've not been actively working on songs for the Bon Iver project since it started. It makes me quite emotional. I'm kind of serving this space of being present right now, and I think whatever does happen next, it's going to be better because I'm taking this time. And the au revoir thing is like, I think there's a great translation of it. It's actually like, we'll see you next time.
For Nashville Public Radio, I'm the other Justin from Wisconsin, Justin Barney.
Thanks for listening to the Nashvillager podcast. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. And thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does go a long way. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up next week.